It's in living color. The issues of race only come into play because this is a multi-ethnic cast. You're making fun of white people. How dare you show white people in this light? Only minority artists are victimized by the politics.
No one was ready for the shockwave that In Living Color unleashed the moment it hit television. Its fearless cast pushed boundaries no network had ever dared to touch, creating characters and moments that shaped an entire generation and launched some of Hollywood's biggest names. But behind the wild sketches, tension was brewing. What really happened behind the scenes of America's boldest comedy show? And why did a series that looked unstoppable suddenly crash after only 5 seasons? Join us as we expose the drama behind one of television's most influential sketch shows. Jim Carrey was paid more than everyone else. Jim Carrey was different from the start because he was the only white guy in a mostly black cast. His funny faces and silly actions made everyone love him right away. Characters like Fire Marshal Bill became really popular, and Carrey worked hard to make even the craziest skits funny, which made his fellow actors respect him.
I've been going door to door looking for fire hazards. Mind if I give your place a little inspection?
But what people didn't know was that there was a problem about money that was causing tension between the stars of the show. Jim Carrey's team made a special deal before season 2 that paid him a lot more money than the other actors. The reason was pretty straightforward, but caused some arguments. Carrey's new characters were sure to be popular. So why should he have to wait until season 3 to get the money he deserved? The people at Fox agreed to this deal, but they made a big mistake by not telling the other cast members about it. When Damon Wayans discovered that he was earning less money than Jim Carrey, he felt very upset and disappointed with the network. The show was made by the Wayans family, who wanted to highlight and celebrate black talent. But it was frustrating for Damon to see that the only white actor was getting paid more than all the other cast members. This situation made everyone on set feel unhappy and created a lot of tension during the filming of the show. Damon's anger towards Fox grew because of this unfairness, and it eventually led him to decide to leave the show altogether. But while money divided the cast, an even more shocking revelation about the show's origins would prove that some of its most beloved characters were born from pain and rejection. The rejected sketch. Fire Marshal Bill is one of the most famous characters in sketch comedy.
And you just happen to be soaking your bunions in a bucket of water.
He has a burned face, crazy energy, and a catchphrase that tells people to be careful about fire in a really strange way. Jim Carrey really put his all into playing this character, and the funny sketches showing the wild safety inspector putting kids in risky situations while talking about being safe became very popular. But there's a surprising and sad story behind this well-loved character. Jim Carrey said that Fire Marshal Bill came from a sketch that was too controversial for Fox to show. The original idea was called Make a Death Wish Foundation, which was a very dark joke about the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It included a child that had passed whose wish was to go to an amusement park. The sketch was so upsetting that even the most daring people at Fox decided not to air it. Jim Carrey had created a unique facial expression for the ghost child character, which looked strange but interesting. He didn't want to waste that look, so he used it when the writers were coming up with new characters. This is how Fire Marshal Bill was created from that unsettling idea. The character's burned and scarred look, along with his odd behavior, came directly from the dead child concept, but it was changed into something that could actually be shown on TV. It's surprising that one of the friendliest characters on the show, who is all about safety, came from such a dark idea. This shows how creative the writers of In Living Color were. They had a talent for taking wild ideas and turning them into something that could still be funny and acceptable for TV. This skill became a big part of the show, but it also caused some problems with the network. While Carrey was transforming rejection into comedy gold, another cast member was fighting a very different battle just to find his voice on camera. Tommy Davidson froze on his first day. Tommy Davidson brought incredible talent to In Living Color, with his spot-on impressions of Sammy Davis Jr., Michael Jackson, and other legends becoming highlights of the show. His character, Sweet Tooth Jones, and his appearances in sketches like Homie the Clown,
Oh, don't try to block it now.
showcased his range and comedic timing. But what fans never knew was that Davidson almost never made it past his first day of filming, when stage fright nearly ended his career before it began. Davidson had started out doing stand-up comedy, where he became popular in Washington, D.C., and even performed before famous artists like Patti LaBelle and Kenny G. However, stand-up and sketch comedy are very different, and when it was time to film his first scene, Davidson got really nervous. He couldn't move or say anything, and the crew and other actors looked worried and confused as they watched him. The director said, "Cut," many times, and people were really worried that Davidson couldn't handle the stress of making a TV show. At that moment, his whole future was uncertain, and it could have gone in any direction. Then, Damon Wayans came over and said some encouraging words that changed everything and helped Davidson believe in himself to reach his potential. Damon walked over and whispered in Davidson's ear with simple but powerful encouragement. He reminded Davidson that he deserved to be there, that he had worked incredibly hard to earn his spot, and that he needed to think about his family and just do what he naturally did. Davidson's fear was lifted by those words, and from then on, he never hesitated again. The belief that Damon gave him in that important moment stayed with Davidson for the whole time he was on the show. But while Davidson was finding his voice, another cast member was making history simply by being present in a room where people like him had never been welcomed before. The first Korean-American cast member. Steve Park joined the cast of In Living Color in Season 3, and he didn't just add new funny talent, he also broke a big barrier in American TV that had been there for many years.
Funny stand-up comedian, actor, Steve Parks joining us.
Park was the first Korean-American actor to be part of an American variety show, which helped show people from his community who had mostly been ignored in mainstream comedy. He had experience in stand-up comedy and had been in Spike Lee's movie Do the Right Thing, which got him ready for being in the spotlight. However, he was not ready for what he would see about how Hollywood treated Asian actors. In his one season on In Living Color, Park took part in different skits and added new ideas to the already varied group of actors. He worked with well-known stars and managed to keep up in the quick and stressful atmosphere that Keenen Ivory Wayans had made. However, Park was paying attention to more than just the funny parts while he was on the show, and what he noticed would eventually push him to speak out publicly. After he left In Living Color, Park kept acting in important movies like the Coen brothers' Fargo and Bong Joon-ho's Snowpiercer. In 1997, when he was a guest on the popular show Friends, Park witnessed discriminatory acts from the assistant director that made him realize the big problems Asian actors face. He noticed that Asian men were often treated as just a token and were disrespected, while Asian women were usually shown as only being objects. Park decided he couldn't stay silent anymore, and he issued a powerful mission statement calling on Hollywood to treat Asians with more respect and dignity. He specifically championed giving Asian actors more leading roles instead of relegating them to stereotypical supporting characters and background extras. His willingness to speak out, knowing it could damage his career, showed the courage that had led Keenen to cast him in the first place. Park later married fellow In Living Color cast member Kelly Caulfield in 1999, and together they raised a family while he continued to fight for better representation in the industry. While Park was breaking barriers and fighting for respect, the show's creator was engaged in his own battle with network executives who didn't understand the vision they had greenlit. The controversial content. Keenen Ivory Wayans didn't just create In Living Color, he fought for it week after week against network censors who wanted to water down the show's edge. Fox executives had promised Keenen that he could do whatever he wanted, but once the show became successful, they started getting nervous about the controversial content and began pulling back. The writers developed a clever system for getting their most controversial material past the network's Standards and Practices Department. According to writer and producer Les Fierstein, they would deliberately include decoy sketches in the script packets they submitted to Fox executives, sketches that were so outrageous that they knew the network would focus all their attention on stopping them. While the censors were busy freaking out about the decoy content, the writers could slip other controversial material through that would have been flagged under normal circumstances. One famous example involved a Men on Film sketch about hanging out with Tom and Jerry at the Cannes Film Festival, which included references to a rumor about a gerbil that Fox found absolutely unacceptable.
I'm Blaine Edward, and I'm Antoine Merriweather, and welcome to Men on Films.
The network sent back a very irate note demanding the sketch be removed, which Firestein still has somewhere as a souvenir. But while Fox was preoccupied with stopping that particular sketch, the writers were able to get other edgy content approved and onto the air without the same level of scrutiny. But while Keenan fought Fox over creative control, an internal power struggle was brewing that would eventually tear the show's family apart. The entire Wayans family walked away. The Wayans family leaving in living color after Season 4 surprised fans who didn't get why the creators would leave their successful show. The official statements were unclear and polite, but the real story was about betrayal, loyalty, and a money decision that made the family lose millions at first, but kept their honesty and togetherness in the long run. What Fox executives did to Keenen Ivory Wayans was so bad that his whole family chose to be poor instead of going along with it. In Season 4, Fox made a choice that started the downfall of In Living Color. They began showing old episodes from earlier seasons without asking Keenen or even talking to him about it. While this might look like a small problem to some people, for those in the TV business, it was a huge betrayal that hurt Keenan's money situation and the worth of his show. When a TV show goes into syndication, its worth depends a lot on how new and exciting the episodes seem to people who want to buy them and how much viewers want to see more. By showing too many reruns while the show was still making new episodes, Fox was hurting the value of In Living Color. Keenen would earn a lot less money from syndication deals because buyers wouldn't pay high prices for episodes that everyone had already seen too many times. When Keenen discovered what Fox was doing, he was furious and confronted the network about their underhanded tactics. Fox tried to justify their decision using business logic, but to Keenen it was simple theft disguised as programming strategy. He told his family what was happening, and without hesitation, Damon, Kim, Sean, and Marlon all decided to walk away from the show in solidarity with their brother. The Wayans' decision to leave meant walking away from steady paychecks and national exposure at a time when they were all still building their careers. But the family bond proved stronger than financial security, and their willingness to sacrifice for each other sent a powerful message about the importance of creative control and family loyalty. Fox tried to continue the show without them, but as anyone who watched Season 5 can attest, In Living Color without the Wayans was like a body without a soul.
Welcome to another exciting year of In Living Color.
While the Wayans family stood together, another source of tension had been simmering since Season 3, and it involved the show's dancing troupe and a future superstar. Jennifer Lopez's ambition created serious tension. Jennifer Lopez became a fly girl on In Living Color in Season 3.
I'm Bronze Jennifer Lopez.
Right from the start, she was different from the other dancers because she worked really hard and wanted to succeed. While the other fly girls were happy just being part of the team and helping with the funny skits, Lopez showed through what she did and how she acted, that she wanted to use the show to reach for bigger things. Her strong desire to be famous made her experience with the Fly Girls more complicated than fans understood. Carrey Ann Inaba, who was also a fly girl like Jennifer Lopez, mentioned that they didn't really get along during their time on the show. Inaba later explained that Lopez's big ambition to be successful made some of the other dancers and crew feel uncomfortable right from the beginning. While the other dancers were excited to work together and support one another, Lopez appeared to be more focused on standing out and getting noticed. Even if it meant making some people in the group upset, this created a bit of tension among the dancers, as they all had different ideas about what it meant to be part of the team. The conflict between Lopez and the choreographer, Rosie Perez, got worse. Rosie had been nominated for 3 Emmy Awards for her work on the show. Lopez's old manager, Eric Gold, said that the two strong women almost fought several times. Gold mentioned that Lopez felt like Perez was picking on her, and she eventually got fed up with it.
I saw you guys seem trained to me, okay? It's just that they have to see it in order to make the deciding vote.
This led to arguments that made Keenan Ivory Wayans have to step in and help them sort things out before it got out of hand. Keenan, for his part, downplayed the drama when asked about it years later, saying that Lopez made very smart choices and that fighting was not something she would have ever done. But others who were there remember the tension as very real and very close to boiling over into something that could have ended badly for everyone involved. The fact that Lopez left the show after only one season suggests that the situation had become untenable for all parties. Decades later, some former cast members have had mixed experiences with Lopez when running into her after she became a massive star. Jamie Foxx famously joked about how Lopez seemed distant with him after her rise to fame, while Tommy Davidson had similar stories about feeling snubbed. But Marlon Wayans defended Lopez, saying she always showed him love, and he even suggested him to Ben Affleck for acting parts, showing that maybe the past problems were finally fixed or that Lopez's friendships were more complex than just simple stories made it seem. While Lopez was fighting for her place in the spotlight, the show's creator was engaged in a completely different kind of battle involving one of his oldest friends. Keenan Ivory Wayans created a fake identity. Behind the comedy genius of Keenan Ivory Wayans was a prankster who couldn't resist taking jokes to their absolute limit, even if it meant destroying friendships in the process. During the late 80s, Keenan was close friends with both Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy, and the three of them would hang out together in the Los Angeles club scene. But Keenan's sense of humor was so relentless and cutting that it eventually created rifts that some of those friendships couldn't survive. The Rick James incident started when Keenan visited Eddie Murphy's house and discovered a closet full of cheap imitation versions of Murphy's famous red leather outfit from his stand-up special, Delirious. Fans had been sending the knockoff outfits to Murphy, and Keenan saw comedic potential immediately. He put on one of the cheap red suits, added a Rick James wig, a gold chain with an F pendant, and gazelle glasses, then went out clubbing looking like Eddie's cousin from Georgia. The disguise worked better than Keenan could have imagined, and when the real Rick James spotted him at a club, he actually believed Keenan was Eddie's relative. James invited the fake Eddie cousin into his limousine, and Keenan maintained the character for the entire night, doing a fake Southern accent and pretending to be from Augusta, Georgia. But Keenan's prank on Arsenio Hall had much more serious consequences and revealed the darker side of his comedic instincts. According to sources close to the situation, Keenan blamed Arsenio for driving a wedge between him and Eddie Murphy, feeling that Arsenio's jealousy or insecurity had damaged their three-way friendship. In retaliation, Keenan came up with the idea to mock Arsenio's talk show on In Living Color, and he did it in a way specifically designed to hurt his former friend. Keenan wore a fake padded backside and highlighted certain mannerisms because he knew Arsenio was insecure about his body and always tried to hide certain physical features. Eddie and Keenan had apparently teased Arsenio about these insecurities in private for years, and now Keenan was taking that private mockery and broadcasting it to millions of viewers. When Arsenio saw the sketch, he was deeply hurt and angry, and he cut off contact with Keenan immediately. The friendship between Arsenio and Keenan was effectively over, though Eddie Murphy eventually smoothed things over with Arsenio and got closer to him afterward. For Keenan, though, the damage was done, and he had sacrificed a friendship for a sketch that got laughs, but cost him someone he had once considered a brother. But while internal power struggles were tearing the show apart, an even more disturbing pattern was emerging that fans and cast members were slow to recognize. Fox executives wanted the controversy. The most shocking revelation about In Living Color's cancellation has nothing to do with creative differences, cast conflicts, or declining ratings. In fact, when Fox canceled the show in 1994 after its 5th season, In Living Color was still performing well in the ratings and was actually beating shows like Seinfeld in its time slot. The real reason for the cancellation was far more sinister and revealed a disturbing pattern in how Fox treated black-led programming once the network felt established enough to go mainstream.
From In Living Color Fox Network, Sunday nights, 8 o'clock, watch this.
When In Living Color was on the air, Fox was a new TV network trying to be a real choice next to ABC, CBS, and NBC. The people in charge wanted shows that were bold and different, something that would grab attention and bring in younger viewers from various backgrounds that the older networks weren't reaching. They told Keenan Ivory Wayans he could be creative and supported his ideas, even when advertisers and censors got worried, because they wanted the show to be controversial. Fox needed In Living Color to stand out. But once Fox gained traction and started attracting bigger advertisers and more mainstream attention, the calculus changed completely. Network president Peter Chernin and other executives began following an old television industry maxim: the least expensive programming is the least objectionable programming. Fox realized they could make more money by appealing to broader, wider, more conservative audiences. And that meant their black-led shows suddenly became liabilities instead of assets. Starting in the mid-90s, Fox began systematically canceling their African-American-centric programming in what writer and producer Les Firestein bluntly described as ethnic cleansing. Shows like South Central, Rock, and eventually In Living Color were all canceled despite having solid ratings and devoted fan bases. Fox was deliberately trying to become more mainstream and less identified with black programming, and they were willing to sacrifice the shows and creators who had helped build their network to achieve that goal. Fox's actions were hurtful because they had reached out to Keenan and other black creators to give them chances that other networks wouldn't. They promised to let them be creative and support them, but when they no longer needed those creators, they took everything away. In Living Color didn't fail. It was let down because of the network's goals and business plans. Which of these behind-the-scenes revelations shocked you the most? Did knowing about the conflicts and betrayals change how you view In Living Color and its legacy? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.